Okay, well, I will come. Natural Father JohnBosco EZEHI. Father making candidates of Furu. My book by one for episode natural 17. In here on Igueben, only every point malu. Now we work Ize no see EDO STATE. A book by that you remember by Pastor EHICHIOYA of National Treasury Super, and my brother Mr. Paul Akhere ISEGHOHI, the social political analyst. So my vibe, on the pedernary relation or city, Makere, Onusana, Mama vibe, better no Bundu and Ago. It was a vibe another day. On the moment, Jim Karen, Ma, Omata, the Yoga Manu Wokesan Lady, in a song, I have a natural debate, natural political debate, then the governor of Zulu. My wife, my home, the evoke never for again. And inspired the Policy Advocacy Center plaque in conjunction with the Civil Society Election Situation Room, Yaga Africa, and Inclusive Friends. Yes.
We are live in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Tonight, two candidates will be talking to millions of people on their vision, programs, and agenda, and how they hope to achieve them if elected as governor of Edo State. It is barely a week to the governorship election. An election debate is necessary to engage those who want to lead and provide a platform for these candidates to articulate their positions on public policy, as well as intimating the people on their style of leadership and problem-solving abilities. This debate is a simulcast running on many platforms across the globe. Our partners are joining on the local television and radio station as well as independent broadcasters. There are set rules and guidelines agreed to those guidelines. This 2 hours debate is divided into segments varying from governance, welfare of the people, jobs, security, social development, and the economy. Let me state at this point that neither of these candidates tonight, neither political party members have seen any of these questions that we'll be asking them tonight. The audience here in this auditorium have also agreed to remain silent. No cheering, no jeering. That way, this debate will achieve its purpose. Not to worry. You can follow these broadcasts across all our social media platforms and be part of the conversations. You can watch live on our website. It is channelstv.com. We are also live on Facebook and on Twitter. Tweet us using the hashtag Edo Governorship Debate. Also, you can follow us on live tweets and all of that. Let's now hear from our partners who have been supporting in this endeavor. I will now invite to the podium a member of the Civil Society Situation Room and an election observer, Esther Uzoma, for an opening remark.
I want to do by that and then they don't tower.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome us all to this great debate. The Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, in conjunction with Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, Yaga Africa, and Channels Television has provided this platform for the gladiators, the aspirants, the contestants to air their view, to tell Edo people once again what they intend to do for them, how they will make their lives better. This is part of our responsibility in democracy, promoting good governance. And so tonight, I wish you all well. Above all, I say long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Indeed, Esther, thank you for those opening words, from their kind words. For these next 2 hours or so, we shall be engaging in issues at the heart of the matter of this election, the governorship election in Edo State, as the people are preparing for the September 19th governorship poll. I will now invite you to applaud as an exception to the rule that we have laid down tonight as I introduce the candidates in alphabetical order using their party acronym. First, is the candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC, Pastor Obaseki Ize-Iyamy.
Okay. Anu adagana na choy Pastor Obaseki Iyamu. Otu so woni eto ba le vai.
Candidate of the People's Democratic Party and the governor of Edo State.
Oni Alemu Kalowi APC. Ano se bana Ole Godwin Obaseki. Ano no Edo State sanya Alemu Kalowi PDP. And to bana emana age o de ejananya.
To the rules. So after now, there won't be any cheering or any applauding as we go forward. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's now all rise for the Nigerian national anthem.
Okay. Well, Amy Rasulo, Bossy Nigeria, Nare Tarege, you know Nigeria, only Wiki on the Sonia.
Thank you so much. Let's now begin in earnest, and we will start with the opening statements of the candidates. For the opening statement, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement. Of course, I will start in alphabetical order. We shall be asking you or allow you to be able to speak to Edo people and to Nigerians on why you think you are the right man for the job, and perhaps also tell us one thing that you feel is the most important issue for the Edo people into this election. 3 minutes, and tell us briefly about yourself too.
Well, thank you, Shehu, for arranging these debates. Also, thanks to channels and all your partners. I think it's something that is
Ize-Iyamy, Pastor.
My name is Pastor Obaseki Ize-Iyamy. I'm a lawyer by profession, a pastor, a farmer, I'm also a politician. Now, why do I want to be governor? This state has been good to me, and I have the opportunity to hold very key positions in the state. Those positions have given me a very deep insight into the workings of government and the weaknesses. And I believe that we have the right leadership. And that is why, in thinking about running for office, I've articulated an agenda which I believe is a doable roadmap to bring Edo State to the So, based on my experience, based on my agenda, I think that a square peg forward to the opportunity to state around and make it better. I believe that the past 4 years has not been too good. Edo State can be better. November 12th, agenda, and we know exactly what to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Ize. The candidate of the PDP, Governor Godwin Obaseki, the 3 minutes start.
Thanks to God Almighty and to the people. I'm back here. What I have been able to accomplish for the people people of Edo State and what I intend to do.
No, but not a mama, it was a calu, people that you are going to support a fire, not a mamma.
The last 4 years have been one in which we have made remarkable and fundamental changes in the social and political life of our state.
Obey will die, we will see
the last 4 years, we have brought out possibilities. We have shown that it is possible to have a society where democracy truly thrives, a society where you can use the instruments of democracy to thrive, in the last 4 years of my stewardship has witnessed remarkable changes and improvements in the physical space and infrastructure, in the social space, and revamped educational we have introduced a new mantra for government, a new way of doing things, and being accountable to the people of has given us the opportunity and grace to withstand all, with fortitude, all the pressures that stood in the way of the changes helped us initiate. And we're very proud because our records are there to speak for themselves. I did not nickname myself Wait and See. It's the people of Edo State. Of the dramatic changes they have witnessed in the last 4 years. Now, David, our achievements are so numerous, and I want to thank those who have put all what we've done together in a website called
we are aware that we are on the party.
Come back. We will begin in earnest on some of the issues that have and the hearings of the people of Edo State. Touching on those issues for you. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here. Nigerian broadcasters. Thank you so much, everyone, for queuing in, and also the local TV and radio stations. Let's get back to talking about what really matters to the people of Edo State. And I think it's very good for us to start with the issues of economy. Yes. And let's begin. Let me begin with you, the governor of
so that they were here, so don't say, I don't know why, so I don't know, sir. What I don't say. But there, one, I mean, what am I, pastor? What am I? What am I? My son said,
out of 36 states of the nation. Is that cheering enough? And what are you going to do to reverse the trend, especially on the issue of unemployment rate, which now started in 2020, according to the NBS figure, at 19%. You have 2 minutes for this question.
We get on ya, I wonder when I put a book. I Obaseki, what are you?
That's one
area where I knew.
Area where we believe we have accomplished quite a lot. On the outset, I promised that I will generate a minimum of 200,000 jobs within a 4-year period.
I can tell, or they're looking to win on the work. We have created direct and indirect jobs for Edo people as much as 157,000. Government role is being an enabler, creating an enabling environment for people to come and invest so that the economy can thrive. We had to make sure that we created a sense of order where people will not be harassed when they come in. We created a sense of purpose for the civil service so that civil servants don't realize that you're supposed to provide service and complement the efforts of business
of
everybody that work here, or a law, but I mean, the honor, no, maybe more. I could have moved more. It would have here, it would have who can know whatever. It was I know.
In areas of opening up the economy. For instance, when I came into office, only one flight came into Benin because the airport did not have the capacity to, because we realized the importance of air traffic. We, working with the aviation authorities, we co-invested in the Benin airport.
I will not tell you, or I would know any aeroplane if you know any though aeroplane to talk, it was a boy, aeroplane, the boom, pop, and I do. I don't require, now I make it a ball when I don't say.
Thank you. The same question to you, Pastor.
Anyone
head count and the issue of Human Development Index and the MBS figure on the issue of unemployment.
I'm not know governor. I have no pastor.
Government should be accurate with figures. Begin to falsify figures.
Pastor, where government tonight, but the governor, your
the EDO State Governor claims our IGR will not be where it is. There will be a significant leap, but I'll tell you, and they know it, it has stagnated.
I want to be sure that people say them at the governor time. He go no. Oh, it's all to him. Back to no. What to him? I don't know. Tell anyone I know. Oh, I cook no boom.
Okay, social media and the rest of them. Those are not jobs. So when you say you created jobs, in what area? We know, for example, that there is a glaring vacancy in the teaching profession. Every school we went, they practically had no teachers. Nobody was employed. So for a governor who talks about creating jobs,
where most
of those schools don't have I went to Uromi and they lamented to me that only one doctor.
Oh, Uromi. However, Uromi, a doctor fired me hospital on you. I tell me, I'm a doctor. I met a mile. I have a room. If I have a doctor room, I can have everyone when I room me. I know.
We're doing well, no, we're not doing well. There's glaring unemployment in our state. Out of 10 graduates, at least 8 of them are unemployed. And what I would expect is for us to discuss how we can change this narrative, or to continue to pretend and give fake statistics.
Those things
no job has been created.
Even I when I know so. I hate to be as you want to learn when I walk back in the one.
We have here black people.
I do that one.
Talk about directors.
Why be here? As be to here.
I'll give you 1 minute to report from me. On the issue the question that I asked is, the figures that we have, they're not the fantastic in terms of the people of Edo State and how gainfully employed they are in terms of the Human Development Index, the poverty head count. How are you going to track them?
I know. I don't want to find out where I was. What are you here? What are you?
I hold it. It's a working document. Now, the beginning of this document toward the end is all about jobs. Security, for example. We believe that there's no way we can move forward. There's no way we are going to attract investment in the absence of security. So we are going to invest in security apart from increasing the funding to security agencies. We are going to arrange and retrain our own vigilante groups and have a community policing. That alone will attract between 5,000 to 10,000 jobs. Infrastructure, we are going to invest heavily in infrastructure. And in our own case, whatever we are doing, we are going to engage people in jobs. They not doing jobs here, and they go away with them. Some of the few jobs that this government has done, those who did them, and even their workers, came from outside. So that was capital flight. I didn't want to
state now, right?
I would like to also the same question, and I'll give you 1 minute because it's still on the same question as regarding engaging the people of the Edo State. So you have a minute to. You said you were going to provide 200,000 jobs the last time. You said you have been able to provide over 150,000. That's what you said. So how much more would you do if the people of Edo State elect you? 1 minute.
You governor, where you can look to where they can get a goal.
They did a survey and the breakdown where the jobs came from and who we give the jobs to. The NBS statistics is clear. When we came in, it was 25%, and we've been able to reduce it to about 19%. So that tells you how much jobs have been created. Yes, we still have major challenges when it comes to job creation, but we have to open up the economy. It's not government that can create the jobs, it's the private sector. And the mistake that previous administrations have made, including the one in which my brother served, is that they do not realize that government's role is to leverage. Government's role is to attract more resources.
Don't make me. I know that Mama, all your government is that one level. The body or did one level, they'll tell they will be born and they will not have. I don't know that.
So you don't have.
Are you already there?
Do you have that?
No, we haven't given specific targets this time around, but we want to do great jobs to a certain percentage of the population that are currently unemployed.
I just hope to clear that. Still on the issue of the economy. There will be an opportunity for a rebuttal at the bottom of this segment. The coronavirus has dealt a big blow on economies across the world. Nigeria is not insulated from that. States in Nigeria are also feeling the heat. Federal allocation is dwindling every day. Revenue is a major problem. Issues of productivity is coming up, and governments are thinking or rethinking the ways of taxation. Let me ask you, and I begin with Pastor Ize-Iyamy. You have 2 minutes to answer this. It's about taxation. On the issue of revenue generation, what's your thinking about or your belief about the issue of taxation of the people of Edo State? Could be considered.
Pastor, we are buying.
Federal, state, and local government, we need to abolish them. And then we need to streamline those who collect government revenue. I hear them say that they've abolished Agberos, but I can name so many who are still in the employment of the state governments. And most of those money is going into their pockets. So I think that should change. Then, so many people
federal government to state to do that. Exactly
what government money is being used for. Themselves to the tax net. Again, if you look at the situation in Edo State, especially in the cultural sector and so many areas, by the time we do the kind of investment we intend to do there, I believe so many of our people will come into the tax net. So what is important is diversifying our economy. When you do that, you bring in more people, the revenue will go up. But I do not also believe that those who are looking for money must maintain a very high tax level. Companies where they go into extinction or they collapse. So we need to interface with them, we need to engage them. If they are doing well, of course they will pay their taxes. But we are going to interface with them to the extent that in whatever way we can support them, and that's where the public-private partnership comes in. In whatever way we can support businesses, help them to grow, we will do so. I believe if you have a better relationship with your people and with your private sector, you will find out that taxation will go up on its own without necessarily even increasing it. For now, I just believe that all they have is
how you know what I tell my name?
But basically, you need to create the environments that will make more people come to the tax.
We are running now with your ego can which
means that you only collect money to tax people who have earnings. So what we've done is to try and expand that net and try and bring a lot more corporates, a lot more people who have businesses into the formal sector so that we can have data on how many people are employed, and
get
them to
by paying their taxes. Anyway, go in a house, they support go, government now, or did you turn the water and then have big, but other more, many little,
ensuring that people have tax income numbers, ensuring that those who collect taxes do so without collecting cash in the case of when they collect direct taxes from people in the streets and in the markets, and to ensure that for the low-income taxpayers, you make it easy for them to pay their taxes. Where they don't have the cash flows, you give them space, you give them time,
I want to go boss where I go. You had your cancer. Let me get during I was in the moment. Okay, whatever, say Hassan.
Like in the past, in the era of my predecessor in office, where touts, known political enforcers, were the ones who had the mandate to go in there to collect taxes from people in the marketplaces and their businesses. We have said no to non-state actors collecting government taxes so that we can better account for them. Yes. I will not allow.
LGBT, and I will be in LA.
I think this goes for Governor Obaseki. Let me begin with you on this one. Tell us about the issue of the investment in refinery in Edo State. How much did Edo State invest in that refinery? What is the mathematics for that investment?
On the refinery,
and the return
encouraging indigenous investment in modular refineries, so that people, those living in those communities, don't bust pipelines and take that and still put petroleum. So the thinking is, get the investment in those communities, use the crude oil that is available, create jobs and create industries around those communities. So we got the Edo State agency, Sopedec, that is responsible for oil and gas, to invest some of the allocations in a modular refinery with a partner in two phases. There's a phase one, which the total capacity of the modular refinery will be 5,000 barrels a day. They just done their first investment for phase one for 1,000 barrels a day. The total investment
they are single so good. Now they don't know when I saw it. One of them, they are going in the pipe here, and they don't do $100 million. And they don't say that don't do or they're boy. No, it's
$10 million. The next phase is going to be about $40 million. But the good thing is that the refinery is 90% ready, and in the next few months we will commission, and people will see petroleum products being produced in the oil community. Producing communities.
Thank you. Well, my simple agenda, as far back as 4 years ago, I mentioned the necessity to build a refinery at Ibobaoka because of the oil wells in that locality.
Pastor,
to set up modular refineries is that of the APC federal government. I'm very happy about that. Now, please. Now, for a project that the state government lays claim to, your question was very relevant. What is at stake in that place? I know that the initial capital is $10 million. It will interest the people to know that our investment there is just 700 million naira, which is less than 1% of the share in that company. That to me does not show seriousness. And for a governor who tells us that he's a financial expert, it either means that he does not believe that that project is worth it.
Okay, Uzanoy Kisano governor and Yabe Koto time. I was a toss of a governor. I know you're the portal of our area of
for the 3 oil producing local governments of Bobauka, Oriomo, and Ojano is not for Edo State. Edo State did not invest a copper in that project. And I'm surprised when I see the governor trying to claim credit for a project that is not his own. And for a project he has not leveraged on to ensure that Edo people will benefit from it. The oil sector is being deregulated. One would have thought that this is an area where you need to put some money. But unfortunately it was not done. So again, it's another good example of a good project, but the governor has missed the opportunity to get the state involved.
Okay.
Still on the issue of the economy.
Every governor that look at committee award
for 2020 it has gone up to 82 billion naira. Is this sustainable? What are you looking into ensuring that the state does not go into unmanageable debt?
Yes.
Well, let me make the point very clear.
On our
in terms of
we have
not taken debt as a government. What happened? What happened is that my predecessor in office borrowed recklessly, and the federal government had to restructure all the debts that were taken before I came into office. These, included a whole series of bank borrowings, the borrowings for salaries. Of almost
Federal committee,
So with a debt burden of more than 120 billion naira, we've been able to service and still ensure that we undertake economic projects. We fund infrastructure. But is it sustainable? For coming from a finance background, it's not the quantum of debt, it's what you use the debt to procure. So as long as you're able to invest
as soon as I was a service, I was a hassa, I was a hassa. This summer, Sam, the boy has a rosa here, or the other goes out, the boy as soon as the services of the
to attribute the debt to a predecessor that you were the chief economic advisor. Sometimes you seem to forget. Sometimes you seem to forget the role you play in the government. Just an example.
Yes, I knew why you go. I know where am I? Where am I? And I booked that.
The failed survey missed projects. 2 billion went down the drain. The again a golden rice project, 5 billion went down the drain. And then the oil palm project, you have collected 69 billion from the central bank, and the money has been shared to cronies. No Edo person has benefited from that money. And I can tell you to that was gone down the drain. So just from agriculture alone, I've named 3 areas where over 75 billion has been collected. Now to talk about money you are collecting from the World Bank and the rest of them. You came in at a time where you had so much windfall. Paris Club, bailout funds, 35 million C4 World Bank loan, all these monies came in. What did you do with them? Where are the projects?
I'm talking about Obaseki. Where will you go? Where will you go? World Bank, Paris Club,
you promised health centers. Go and look at the rice project in Akhere. It collapsed. Parking in Obayato. What has happened to it? A project that is promised that in 6 months, everything will be ready. Nothing is happening there anymore. Because even the land alone, you did not even do due process. You did not even check first the ownership before you embarked on it. So many of these projects are embarked on. They are a waste.
Your time is up. I have one more question on this segment before I allow you a minute each for rebuttals, should you want to respond to any of the statements made. Let me ask and begin with the governor of Edo State. It's obvious that governments are tightening their belts because of the situation of the economy. Is the civil service of Edo State overbloated? If it is, are you hoping or are you thinking of cutting the workforce?
When we
need to bring in more people to work for government. Smarter people, we need to train them. What unfortunately with the civil service, brother was the creme de la creme of the civil service. Most of the experienced permanent secretaries in the guise that they were trying to save money. So you have a civil service over the last 20 years that has grown without mentorship, without training, and without capacity building. So what we are doing is first to make, because government has to be strong, even in the face of coronavirus, to be able to manage the people, manage the states. So what we have done is we've built the JohnBosco EZEHI Center for Public Service Training, and with that we intend to train rigorously. Even our experience in the educational sector, we intend to train very rigorously and hire a whole new generation of civil servants who will be technologically savvy, who will use computers, who will use ICT to deliver government services to the people of the state. Prepare.
Analog computer.
Pastor Ize-Iyamy, same question. Is Edo State civil service overbloated?
No,
are you planning to?
I think the model the governor has tried to adopt is to reduce the workforce to the barest minimum. But unfortunately, whatever savings he thinks he's making is not being seen in capital projects. The only vote that has been increased during his time is the vote, which has increased by over 100%. There is no serious security. Now I'm surprised that he's talking about when I left office. I left office 13 years ago. 8 years ago, for 8 years, you served under a government, and you are telling us that during those 8 years, you did no training. That lamentation is scandalous. 8 years, you were in the government before now, and you are saying that because of what happened 13 years ago, you are lamenting that right now, you got 4 years added to the 12 years. 12 years something. For a man who failed in 12 years, to attempt to try him again will be suicidal. So it can't happen. So let me make it clear. Over 38%, they have either retired or they have died. And the governor has made no attempt to replace them. How can you have schools without teachers? So when they talk about no best, it's a joke. What's the best when schools don't have teachers?
Teachers, they
but most of them just one.
I only got that best. On my way, I don't go with Tom teacher. School government teacher. On the teacher. I like the government getting a teacher.
No, there are some areas that are vital sectors.
For
example, health management. That's ridiculous. Governor must look after the health sector. You can't contract it out. The people you have carried now.
The time is up, Pastor Ize.
And I like you. Have any rebuttal for anything, any of the
my brother has is that it's a thinking about government. That thinking is changing globally and it has to change locally. EDO State at best earns about 100 billion naira per annum. With 5 million people, it means that budget-wise, you can only spend a maximum of about 20,000 per citizen. What is 20,000 per annum per citizen? So the thinking has to change such that 100 billion you earn, you should be able to attract multiples of that into your economy so that there's more wealth and there's more availability for your citizens. Another problem is you just can't come to it. Another general terms understand that these people can just Google and find out the facts.
All right, your time is up.
Pastor, what?
That you have interesting.
Well, I think that in the past 4 years, the economy of Edo has been mismanaged, has been plundered, and all the huge amount that we received at the inception of this administration has practically I've looked at the agricultural sector. There's nothing there. I've looked at industries. And all these areas I'm talking about, I can mention to you huge amounts that were spent in them. We had the opportunity, when allocation was good, to diversify our economy. The governor made what I might call a very lame attempt, and it failed completely.
Well, on the governor,
enter into areas that would have brought in revenue. During Christmas, for example, people were going to Abakari Kitchen. They were going to Kebbi to bring rice.
Thank you so much. Your time is up.
Governor, try here for one time.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more, this time around, on security, health, and education. These are important. We'll be right back. The capital of EDO State Governorship debate. Thank you so much, the candidates here on the stage tonight. Let's go into the issue.
Well, I don't have more than half.
Education. Let me begin this time around with the candidate of the APC. The issue of cultism, thuggery, and violent crimes are major source of worry in Edo.
Cultism, thuggery,
violent crimes. Should be elected in the first 100 days. This assume some kind of
cultism.
Yes.
What
will be your immediate these kind of crimes?
Thuggery,
items on our simple agenda because one, the insecurity in our state has reached an alarming proportion. Without security,
I want to know. I will go on a dostet. I have to do Kokalo Bare where or I would tell about it. And they will put a security. I will do
I mentioned just now, for example, that the only thing I know that the governor has increased the vote significantly is security vote.
Well, I'm going to governor
some corresponding
our Bible is going to move off your
security issue.
Or there, hold on me again. I'm going to run one.
Okay,
I want that. Our governor,
the past 4 years.
I want to get governor that around the only winner.
I've seen huge investment, buying vehicles, buying radio equipment.
I have governor the no call, Naresha Moto, or the equipment or Pakino, or whether they even had one. Because I'm measuring a car.
Are not even cars that can go through a terrain. So certainly those are not vehicles meant for crime fighting. We have not invested in security. Technology also comes in. We have not invested in it. We are perhaps one of the few states in the South that have not invested in trackers. These days, you can even invest in drones.
Akhere I'm about to find a tracker.
The issue of violence, you can tackle them.
Police are
will change.
I do my
fighting and the rest of them were vigilante groups. But those vigilante groups were financed by communities who are no longer so buoyant.
My vigilante. I will vigilante never a killer parada make governor.
Our security votes are perhaps one of the lowest since I've been associated with the Edo State government. It's less than 5% of our total budget because, we have so many other commitments. But that does not mean that security is not critical and pivotal. What we have done is to rethink security and create a new security architecture for the state. I'm grateful that we have
Governor, I want to know.
As
security,
I have the privilege of working very closely with
you.
But the state governments, the responsibility and burden of security rests with the citizens. We try to create a hybrid where working with the federal government, within the state, you can now create your own structures and layers of security that will support what the federal government is doing. That led us to creating an outfit called POWs, the Public Works Volunteers. We have about 3,000 young men and women who were hired in their wards and who have been trained and given uniforms to help keep public order and provide intelligence, local intelligence on what's going on in that area, and we use those feed that intelligence into the federal security network. It's working. And this election really is going to security going forward. The lions and tigers around the APC today represent, the bulk of those core groups who believe that if the APC government wins in Edo State, then they will not have their sway in our state. But by the grace of God, that will not happen.
Thank you so much. Within the region, the South region, specifically, what would you do? Because that's another thing. Wealthy citizens of the state and the non-wealthy citizens of the state are being victims of kidnapping. Okay. What in specific would you do? Okay. Within the 400 days, should you be elected as governor?
Thank you. Kidnapping is quite high in the states. The governor will tell you that not too long ago, even the commissioner of Ease was kidnapped. And there's on and on and on. The truth about it is that we are not showing enough. Pastor, what are we here? Most of the people are being out on Binoculars.
Pastor,
they will tell you it happened at a place called
our commissioner.
That is where most of the time people mobilize the Nigerian army to flush out the forest. Go inside the forest and apprehend those who are I've never heard when the governor mobilized the military to go into the forest and clear the place out. Number two, if you have the tracker is a technology that the movement they call after you are able to locate their destination.
By
your predecessor, you will agree with me that the increase is close to 100%. And yet, you can't afford the tracker that would enable the police or security agencies pinpoint exactly where kidnappers are. The vehicles are not there. So the reality is that I will invest in technology, I will invest in the police, and the vigilante will get to set up the community policing. There is no way kidnappers can operate in that territory because every month they are being paid by the state government.
Well, but I know.
Here's what the governor wants to do. You know, so the reality is that nothing was happening.
Pastor, what time? Governor, you try. If I will try. Because I can't matter.
The burden of security is on exclusive base. So the state has limited capacity as a state to respond to such violence. So what we have done is to collaborate.
Governor, and I just exclusive in the federal committee or mobile one. It was
related to crimes in Edo State, and on a monthly basis undertake a thorough analysis with the various agencies trying to understand the trends, the locations, and what to do. And and most cases, once the Security Council agrees or makes decisions, the state government swings into action by putting the resources. You will agree that kidnapping was between Ofosu and Okada and Ofosu. We deployed the services of the state government of contractors to clear the sides, the bushes around the roads from which the kidnappers, come in to stop vehicles. So such actions by us show that we have in supporting the federal agencies. We have attracted tell you how much we have invested in security is a national challenge. And as a governor, whether an APC or PDP or a governor from any other party, I think that once you're sworn to the Constitution, we must all come together, work with the central authorities to provide security for our citizens.
All right, let me. I think governments are taking action into their hands in terms of securing the state, and regions across the country are also taking up these. We've seen a Motekun initiative in the southwest region. Pastor Ize-Iyamy, you have 2 minutes to tell us, would you be setting up a state-owned security apparatus, and what are your views on issue of state policing?
Are you pastor?
Something that
whether you call us,
we must do.
The
federal government will consult with them, will seek their approval, because if you look at the personnel deployed to our state, the police command, you will know that it's grossly inadequate to cover our borders and cover every part of our state. So we must complement them by community policing. I know people have fears about such police being misused. Well, that is why I said we might need to dialogue with the federal government. But we need a complementary force. It was there before. The vigilante you are looking at is more or less something like that, but not organized. But this one will be organized. They will be trained, and we'll monitor them, and we'll pay them. First time, we are going to work out stipends that we will give to them. The state police concept is not bad, but there are great areas that we must tackle with the federal government. And by the time that one is done and approval is given, yes, I don't think we do it. But for the time being, we are going to invest in community policing. We are going to
streamline them.
Obaseki is required, and that the logic of our federation, the logic of our presidential system, means that policing or security, just like most other services, have to be cannot be exclusive to the center alone.
Okay.
You have to have
to
it's no longer an issue for debate. We currently have local policing in some form. I think what we're trying to do, working with the new Inspector General of Police, is seeing how we can create that alignment. So I'm glad that we've been able to submit a list for community policing to police authorities. We are reviewing that list, and it is just the first phase. Because every what we need to do is formalize them, streamline them, and then make sure that areas of conflicts are reduced. As a state, we currently are doing that.
I didn't want to. But I did over why then they be police the guys.
For health.
Or they would
and that amount is to support efforts at local policing. We have the power, as I said, and we also have what we call Wabaizigan. We've invested in the Wabaizigan scheme. And we pulled together the various federal agencies into one scheme for effective policing of our community.
Thank you so much, Governor. Thank you. On this leg of the security, there is one quick question I want to chip in. I'd like you to answer in a minute each before we move into some other very important issue at health and education. And that issue is about human trafficking. Edo State, of course, we know human trafficking is a crime. Edo State is one for traffickers. Apprehended, or how do you hold after human traffickers so they do not soil the name
Edo State is being stigmatized by this issue of human trafficking. The federal government has set up an agency, and I think they are doing their best. I also believe that if we make the home environment more attractive, create jobs, and halt rural to urban drift, you will find out that these human traffickers will not be able to get.
Pastor, where all the work,
certainly they are laws to be enforced.
When I live by
human trafficking at local and international level, we will not hesitate at all to assist to enforce these laws. We don't want our state to be stigmatized. We have a lot of people in the diaspora who are doing very well, professionals in various fields. But unfortunately, the stigmatization has created the impression that all the things are wrong.
Ize-Iyamy.
The EU have given us applause on what we have done as a state through our Edo Task Force on Human Trafficking. It's sad, it's really unfortunate that it shouldn't have gotten to this. When my brother was in office, our secretary to government, that was when the seeds for this were sown, and that was when it started.
What
are the issues? Denial. The government was pretending that it didn't exist because people were benefiting from the trade. And what we've done with the agency is we've come down very hard. We're working with international agencies, particularly the Italian government, and we're able to get quite a few convictions. And we're going to continue to work with thank you so much. Let's move into the issue of education. I want us to hang on how education can be Pastor Ize-Iyamy, should we be elected governor of Edo State? What are you thinking and what are your action plans that you have highlighted in your manifesto to deal with the effect of coronavirus? Not sure where that children or students may not be able to fully integrate back into physical classrooms. But a lot of those students who are not very buoyant, whose parents are not very buoyant, may not be able to afford digital learning. Yes. What would you do immediately? Because another academic session has been
corona.
My church, we run schools, and because of COVID-19, we had to adjust. To healing. I think that is the way to go. It's clear now that nobody sure when this pandemic will end. We cannot keep our so we need to resort to technology to be able to teach them. Also, we need to really invest in technology in our schools. Primary, secondary, of course, tertiary level. Our teachers. I agree that the Edo State government appears to be trying to train teachers, but unfortunately, the only thing I find is the cost per training one teacher with 1.5 million. And if you look at the statistics of the governor said they have trained 11,000 teachers. That will mean they have spent over 16 billion on just training teachers. But this training, how has it impacted our children? That's another issue. So for me, though, we need to put up a couple of experts, look for how we can vigorously go into e-learning in all our schools, areas, ensure that this pandemic do not disadvantage them when it comes to education. So we're going to do that, and that is something that we can actually start in the first 100 days.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, you'll see I'm smiling. I wish I had the kind of money that my opponent is talking about. I mean, we'll do wonders. 15 billion to 20 billion. From my educational system very early on in the life of my administration. I want to pay special tributes and thanks to the chairman of our state Universal Basic Education Board, who, we got entangled. I listened to my instincts because my predecessor in office, God, did not want me to employ that woman. She came in, and we have transformed our basic education system to the applaud of the whole world. You will get. Technology to teach the children, to give the teachers a technology aid, a tablet where their lesson notes are loaded, where the
tablet, computer, tablet.
Coronavirus will come. But with coronavirus, we've been able to just use that platform effortlessly to extend digital learning to children.
Of course.
Digital information, communication companies, those telecom companies who've given us complimentary airtime so that these children and their parents can connect to the platforms and learn while they're at home. We intend to, continue. We're just so fortunate. The World Bank Board has just approved $75 million over the next 4 years for us to extend this platform.
World Bank is
children on that platform today, and we expect it to get to about 500,000 in the next few years.
Thank you. On the last leg of this segment is the issue of health. And let me begin with you, Pastor Ize-Iyamy. like in Nigeria, the healthcare specialists in Edo State are also supplied. How would you manage deficit of health workers and health specialists?
Well, there are some things you can't cut corners with. You can't cut corners with medical personnel. You can't cut corners with doctors or nurses. You need them. They are essential to run hospitals. Today, if you do an audit of the entire doctors in Edo State Health Management Board, there are less than 200. And if you look at it in terms of average, it's shocking. So definitely we need to employ health personnel. I'm also shocked that the State School of Nursing and Midwifery has been closed for the past 2-3 years. The danger it portends for our state is that in few years to come, nurses, we're looking for nurses. We'll have to go outside our state to source for nurses because we're no longer producing them. And this was an institution that was very viable. People were coming from all over the place to put their children in these places. The moment they come out, employment is personnel. But unfortunately, the government does not appear to have paid some money. In fact, I was shocked when I found that during when the governor was campaigning for office, the governor has never visited the central hospital. I'm not talking about the extension. That was good. But I'm telling you, one that for 4 years, the governor has never stepped into that place. That is the height of insensitivity. Number two, I was shocked during COVID when the governor went to Stella Abasojo Hospital, an hospital that we built and equipped when I was SSG, and confessed that he never knew that such an hospital was in Edo. And I told myself, is this the same person that was chairman of an economic team? On what basis was he advising the governor? An hospital that was just down the road.
Master Ize-Iyamy, the time is up. Governor Obaseki
Ize, Major Akhere, our governor of this is about the hospital of
I think for us as a government, we are rethinking healthcare. Yes, there's been a lot of brain drain from the medical sector in Nigeria, but Edo is blessed. Edo has an advantage. Don't forget that Edo has had University of Benin Teaching Hospital, a center of excellence for the past 40 years, and that institution has produced a whole array and range of medical personnel, and most of them still live around the state. So you still have a critical pool of medical personnel. What we need to do is to rethink healthcare and not think about healthcare as hospitals. We must think about healthcare as a system and what government's role should be in that system. To build infrastructure, to regulate practice, and provide training and capacity. So for us as
Obaseki Ize-Iyamy, are you better than
in the past 4 years under my stewardship, we've had no less than 3 world-class private hospitals that have come into Edo. What is important is care, how we deliver health care to our people, and underlining that is who pays. And what we have done is to address the core issue of payments by introducing the Edo State Health Insurance Scheme. Once people can put something aside for their health care, then it becomes easy to pay for care and to get investments into the healthcare system. I'm not too worried about
our
because with technology today, we have power, we have bandwidth, we have the diagnostic equipment here. Doctors from anywhere in the world can consult.
Clarification about issues that have been raised in the governorship campaign. And when we come back, we'll talk about that. Join us again, everyone.
Okay,
thank you so much and welcome back. It's now time for the segment for clarification. There has been some issues on the minds of a lot of people. Some of the issues.
The campaign, every time.
Before we get into that, there is one thing that is very crucial, which I wanted us to touch on before we went on that break, and is that of agriculture. This time around, I will begin with Governor Obaseki. What will you know about agriculture?
Okay, let me talk about what we are currently doing about agriculture. We never knew COVID-19 would come. We never knew that oil prices would be affected this way. But we were fortunate as part of our reform programs to have started what we call the Agripreneur Scheme about 3 years ago, where we, as government, try to help create the enabling environment for farming and agriculture to thrive. So what we've done is to look at agricultural assets, things like the Sept, but that, I mean, because helping them remove some of the risks. Whenever in the business of agriculture to be interested. So today we have approximately 5,000 such people across the state. We have farms in Sept, we have farms, like I said, across the state. And yes, maybe the first two seasons you have to go through a learning period. But as at this year, the sort of yield we're getting from these farms, from the maize or rice, have been quite
in Akhere,
is to have a database of farmers in various communities. Approach them directly, support them with savings, but more importantly, support them with offtake. So as to encourage them to produce more. So I go to you and I say, look, what do you need?
Whatever you produce.
We'll help you prepare the land, give you the seedlings, and when you cultivate, we give you a guarantee that we'll buy back from you. That's encouraged.
Actually, but like I said in my opening statement, the agricultural investments of this present government have been a disaster. For example, the survey partnered with Saro Farms and spent close to 2 billion. If the governor will be factual with us, and if I were to ask him if that money has been recovered, the answer is no. That money has gone down the drain. The same way the partnership they had with Nistra in respect of the rice in Akhere, the project collapsed and that money is gone. And my fear is that the 69 billion that they also took for oil palm, if we are not careful, it will go the same way. So the reality is that as of today, what do you know Edo for? There are some states you say, oh, rice. Some states you say cocoa. What do you know Edo for? Nothing.
I want to go to government here, move in theory, perhaps. And every power I do, I do, I do. I was like a cocoa. It's so
campaign deliberately. I went to look at the place, and it was, nothing to write home about. But we are going to invest in small-scale farmers and commercial farming. We believe that farming is the way to go. Every part of our state is strong in one form of crop or the other, and we're going to leverage on it. And the better, the Lushi, Ekoma area, those are strong areas for rice. Unfortunately, we are very not careful. So I think that if we invest in all these things, I met a lot of farmers, and they told me that Edo State government made them to sign to fill forms. They paid. I'm sorry. I'd like to bring with
stop the hearing and the clapping because it will impede into the timing of the country. Either from your campaign or from his campaign, and I think it's a good opportunity to clear the air. Yes. So let me begin with where should I begin now? I started with you, Governor Obaseki. Let me begin with you on this one. It is interesting that exactly 4 years ago, in this same hall, right at the same spot you're standing, you were both in opposite sides. Is it you have traded places now? How do you explain this movement to the people of Edo State in the light of trust, especially from the point of view of voters who are looking to entrust their votes into your hands?
Oh, well, Obaseki, Igbene better, whether Kavana, whether Robona, what are we going on? What are we going to do? And I make our way, well, we're going to go back on Mahoma, on our way.
The party, for reasons best known to the leadership, decided to disqualify me as a candidate for the party. I went back to my supporters, sought their opinion, and they gave me the go-ahead to go to another platform and encouraged me with their support that if I obtained a ticket from another platform, and specifically the People's Democratic Party, I went in there and discussed People's Democratic Party.
Question, please.
The question, the same question you traded me.
Well, thank you. I'm sure you are aware that I'm the foundation member of the APC.
Pastor, the number PC ball. Already put the number ball.
In 2014.
Oh, that's what they pay hundred
arose over Congress.
Now they want to buy every
ideological issue. But we have problems with our Congress. And many of my
oh yeah, they pay you or part of the beauty revolution.
But thank God, I'm back. What is very good about what I'm doing is that I remain consistent with the agenda that I have. The same agenda that I have. The same agenda on the governor's movement because he has a lot of association just like I have. But definitely, I'm not going to any place new. I'm going to a place that I built. So, my work is also enjoy born work. Enjoy born a castle. Oh, yeah.
There have been a lot of controversies surrounding your university education. This is an opportunity to clear the air about how you were admitted and graduated from.
What time you were here? I am Lord. China now, because I can't. Now there's okay you were
that somebody who has no certificate, who has no evidence of having gone to school properly, can stand out and comment.
Jamie, no. I don't know why you were being. I walking and then you were being. What are you?
That is the rather sad situation and sad we have found ourselves.
You know, Bible, you don't make me on a woman. Anyway, you wipe it, you know. When are you? You know, are you? Obaseki, we won't know.
Through prelim or through.
Who was it? Who were very bad? Major school, yes.
I finished my levels. I advanced them.
I know I'm your baby without
at the University of Ibadan in 1976.
Any other penny, I wouldn't want me. It's now.
Faculty of Arts.
Or I can look for
I don't know what has happened, but for the University of Ibadan, the standards were and are still very, very high.
And school now, at least to me, you
see that
you might have journalist. I want a school name or this thing. Any school time or you.
I go, you know, it's it's very, very sad.
Oh, but
it's a very, very sad testimony that in a country like Nigeria, some people who do not have qualifications have infantry challenge those who went to protest. I think it's sad, and I hope this is clear the air. On a fellow student, it's an opportunity to clear the air on that matter.
Are you a pastor? Are you working at the bottom of Coco? Bass the other way. Come on, whatever.
Very active.
Are you wild baby?
And my records are when you were in the school, you did that. I think they should go to university authorities and find out exactly what was the offense. Something criminal. The university cannot even handle it. It's a criminal matter. So those were just things being said, like when they said that, oh, pastor is not a lawyer. Just comment briefly.
They are killing
saying that it is scandalous that you that is asking do not have the degree, because you are the one asking the question. We are not doubting. If you got A levels, why is it that you've not been able to present the A levels? If you did A levels, where is the result? Because you see, that is a moral question. A lot of people are looking up to you as a governor and as a leader. You surely were trying to talk about just
your leader, and your mentor. So you don't even qualify to have the university. But the question is, how did you enter the university? Because you failed school sets. If you did A levels, where is your results? That is the issue. And that is why you were disqualified. And the disqualification arose from information that PDP, your party, now provided. Because PDP, when I was protesting against you, said you were not qualified. You didn't have the results. Why have you not answered that question? Where's your results? Obaseki If you don't know, sorry. I said, very big. But I was secretary of the
so that we can move on because of our time. This question I'd like you to answer in 1 minute. There is a recurring decimal in the political careers of both of you, and that is the former governor, Adams Oshiomhole. At one time or the other, either for or against your relationship with him. I'd like you to explain your relationship with him and the role he has played in your political career. I'll begin with you, Governor Obaseki. 1 minute.
I think you must note that, first, I was one of those who helped Comrade Oshiomhole to become governor.
Governor, governor.
Having left Labour, he had no money. He would live in Edo State. With friends, he was able to prosecute his ambition, and we supported him. I planned for the administration, and for 8 years I worked pro bono to make sure he was I worked very closely with him. It was clear that I could continue with the plan I had given to him, and that was why he was encouraged to support my community. Haven't become governor. He had his own personal agenda and thought that I'll be so subservient and he didn't realize that independent I feel that he's a godfather that can stop me.
Thank you. The recurring decimal in your political career former Governor Adams Oshiomhole.
Well, I'm shocked
6 minutes
that Governor Obaseki was never voted in Edo State until his own election in 2016 would tell the world that he more or less got to Oshiomhole. When I heard that they claimed that he raised the money. I laughed. And the first time I saw Oshomole, after a long time, I asked him, you go to the election. So 100,000. And the entire amount was not up to 10 billion. We know how we raise money for coming Adams to election. So I'm surprised that in public like this, we can continue with a lie that was meant to dress you up for political acceptability. Oshomole needed desperately to market you, and he gave the impression that you funded his election. You know that is not true, because you were not in a position to do so. The stock market, your Afri Invest was at its lowest ebb. You were not doing well as a stockbroker, so you didn't even have the resources.
Your time is up.
What does the last one here.
Yes. Gradually to the closing of this debate.
Yes.
And before we get to your closing moment, it's time for reporters. I'm very sure that you have questions.
Reporters,
yes.
If
you have 1 minute to respond, then we'll get to your closing statement. This time around, let me begin with Pastor Ize-Iyamy. Any question for your opponent tonight?
Well, let me just ask 2 questions. One in their Greek.
One question.
Okay, one question.
Pastor, you have one question.
You spoke so much about our Greek. Like I said, I went to Sept. I'm aware of the partnership you had with Saro Farm. And you spent close to 2 billion of borrowed funds.
Oh, you Sept? Oh, Saro Farm.
That money.
Obaseki
it is false. It is not true. We did not spend 2 billion naira. 450 hectare farm, you could not have spent 2 billion. So let us get that clear. We have a program, the entrepreneur program, which is ongoing as I speak today. The central bank has a scheme called the Commercial Agricultural Scheme, the CATS, where the state took 5 billion naira to fund all the agricultural projects which it has been undertaking in the last 3 years. It's a portfolio. Some farms will do well one season, may not do well one season, and do well the next season. That is the nature of business. But the important thing is that farmers go well the next season and with support. So, yes, you could say maybe a little bit of money was lost because they couldn't sell, or because herdsmen attacked the farms. But the next season, they've been supported and that is the nature of business. Thank you. In the light of a post-COVID resources, revenues of government will be affected considerably, like Sheldon had said earlier on. And your simple agenda of doing all of these great things for the people of Edo State, how do you think and where do you think you will get this money required to fund your simple agenda? Because just walking through your agenda in the first things you want to do.
I'm going to grow another one. I have a very good one.
The way you waste money is not the way I waste money. I'm very prudent in financial management, and I believe that this is a period that calls for better thing, understanding your priorities and diversifying the economy. With what we have in mind, we are very optimistic that COVID or no COVID, our revenue will improve and we'll be able to do most of the projects that we plan to do. Thank you.
I guess it's been a long one and a very fulfilling one, I guess, with the conversation that we had. And because of our time, I guess we've come to the very end of this debate tonight. I must sincerely thank both of you, Pastor Ize-Iyamy of the APC, Governor Obaseki, thank you so much, of the PDP for coming tonight. I must sincerely thank also the Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria, Situation Room.
Nice cosmetic.
Now well, this one. Maki be, I reckon be now na every year. Ota makina zabagda zamoja. You are God. I debate here you aba.
You can have a bubble
ba.
A woman level. Ya woman level. The mama kwame osono brown na dem even the Louis Devina is up on daily before even the boom boom mobile look
yes,
and Madame Mabako, Madame Mavi Obi Pastor Ize-Iyamy. Otana no revi, Ojabi Eke Hobby Rivi, Oleata. We are faggot when I go to Wakiri, Governor. If I no Pastor Iyamu, I wear nota, not a cake holy, but a show any sign a cake holy. Iyamu died. Only Pastor Ize-Iyamy, boy, ya wadalo. Or no use courses, okay, a woman once is you. I will not have my cow. May you have my or Pakino, or my auntie or call. Or ye election was on as Zena, or your soup big, or your soup move. On our winning one at Dalunia, only one big here, and our boy every governor here. Madame Mavi or you. Look at my boo bulu.
Well, never my like on the program as about what. It would have been better acting other TV stations years about the buy, so that other people come on the guy. But it may not like any politicians now. It's not the boo boo. But Malaga government are free stereo. So just that I'm who not a volume at the day. That means who will be better. Because for example, Ize-Iyamy or the other security, or the agriculture, or the higher teacher, or the higher vigilante. A kind of study more than I had anyway. So it's all that mama, okay, only 10 hours or memo. On 10 hours, you better all. Where you marry, we get out with one woman away, and you could not have a so if someone did our vote, Yaki to be I don't know. And my man, whatever I can't be done about. But never like the way the enemy time one. And wait there at the end, a California. But I my mother, they go back van, other win, other lose. If you my
made support of the Kata, Governor, order sweet, Obio my pastor, Ize-Iyamy, my brother out here. Well, check, where you can Pastor Ize-Iyamy, I am a Jordan Governor, my brother. I didn't make Kata medali, or who are there for it. Oh, you get where I call it,
but he's a challenger because of his challenge, he has to be more aggressive. Because the governor is already a sitting governor, so he has more clout. So all the time, but for instance, security, also you are going in here.
All the governor tiny.
Because big medagi, if governor Ita or Ize-Iyamy or the Arabia or Ize-Iyamy, every governor you are Lu, but no, you are Dalu, and the governor Tamage exclusive list on it. You are different, or a kid that or
the Arkitamagi, governor or in Lambo. William Aretier, Governor Ole, the state chief security officer number 1. Everyone came one who said, who can be a balance.
Yes.
Only what governor Lane and Ize-Iyamy since already know that we government. Or someone here, a Jahunos governor say, who can be a balance. Only governor Tawdari, ever tagging no way with Zamuza. Even the Buna was upon us who want to turn with Nigeria or Guinean or Kikori or Barry. Only ye, all your soy daggy besunu, all your soy barley berry. But only when Ejahono soy selling, or when I say, boy, kid aluna, I'm yoking one who or when I be that, or there buoy federal government, okay, Lamway, or what I'm here, Mako Kubobi, that I'm here. Oh, they help with the Naluna, Aki Banabuekwa. I did not be constitutional in Nigeria. Say government woman who know soldier, Vidalona, police, we must run over water. Only governor tied. But I am my family Ize-Iyamy. Or they over there, or that you don't leg, or it about women without with federal government job where I had a room of power. So, I was a no blabber, but I'll make you matter anywhere. I'll know win. Arobo mama ma omyo gwe na da mi omyo gwe about we no say ono fe fix about we no say elu uzana aya da aduka ebe zuzana ati bale balu ni keke na da mi ekiro ko se de ni na okay uza ani awo madota na wakida go ye ge ibma do ruona na oni wada ge ebe yo eda lo na wona Waki hon ebi Governor Obaseki Ize lose or keep right. Waki hon ebi Pastor Ize-Iyamy lose or some five. Akonos of Olemenos of Waki the Kakonos of Bon Makatake or a dog Holland or a Bube or a dog do Cadire or a Shikadi or a Dikadi or a dog. When you know your soul, whatever now, okay, my own when I call my okay, hello, hello, Usaro, Joanna Colima, Chicago, help, Bulaba, where go on here? Very nice. Boy, what a mama close, jumping in my town. From Chicago, America.
What?
Go on.
Oh, Chicago,
go on, Usama. Go on, never town. You will get some of it. I don't know about. We are hearing you, my wife, better. Okay, Bulaba. You don't know about. You don't know about. Yes. And what is the other one was already power before the previous administration of the record. She didn't think this person is right or wrong. Yes.
This person can't go to where we are going to.
Yes.
The other element comments are not they're not seeing. I think where they are going to work now. I think they're going to carry for drugs to learn whatever or what's to learn what you're talking about.
You don't know about Buru. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to some like Baba, on America for everybody. Was why you Guru no another me and Waba, Obulo Baba, thank you for contributing. I come here, God bless you. God bless you. Akhere Potayero. Yes. So we will say, Akhere be on the waiter, ebe agbonbere tamawa. Ora do gbugbo ora do kan ora do election of our me we kwati. Oyi wa se gbora do akon. Ba na gbari sa do vote. Oni na odu sa na ba bolo pa Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course. Ba bolo Wednesday. Ba di bodo gbe ri akon gbo ye ba. Na gbodo na fogi bodo na ka di e wo khoro. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Before Akhere now Saturday on election day. I don't know. So Abulu Bulu. I mean, when we are that final word.
Madam Mama ni INEC town, the police town. Yenni.
INEC Akhere town.
Marive Marco Janana and make sure Awamu be Awamu. What they was there. Other Mama saying ni the INEC resident electoral commissioner for EDO STATE, one Mr. Johnson, Analyst for somebody of that nature. Other Igueben, that is 14. Only more to near one election. It's about completed Igueben, okay, Igueben. But in Igueben, only the peace. The signing of the peace accord, the former head of state, Abdul Salami, Bishop Kuka, that National Peace Committee. Either isi raba obini oleho na re dati newo na ki sign no better me than you better me akoida roninya. Then the INEC electoral commissioner that way akironi fokide ke opa on aki ono zigbe nenewo election proper oda enna eleni pe bi igbe ne de mu no woto oda eki wo gbegbe da any material that are ro beere the non sensitive ones is emuni ni Iyamu Nigeria then the sensitive ones any actually receive 2 days to election day or a day to election day akimune ni that ejaina dia ele wo gbegbe e wo tie ba gbegbe that e wo ne ro nege na tamu Edo people Nigeria ge ele wo gbegbe won election ge either be ku either be why now me ono win Akhere yo win but I want the people dale in the kata he ada mama sele ho tambele ada ma me ereku Ekele favor the party na me no ke no wa win ye ayo ki win bo me na ka lori our say Lord Father that he resulted do that ma me which means ele ada mu ho the level de shozugu ma wonte ma gba na that I ne ka ma loni okire police e be so pon de lo wa da ho de lo le e da tell on e wa fi wa yo abikadi ekweti mu no egeni ere are ne e be wo electoral. So my view is that we are not going to be there.
All right. So we are about to.
For another battle, also policeman. Anybody gonna be soldier in the street? Madam Mavi, and then Mark Binoculars. Yes. The major area our because mama no. Police be soldier that party in their numbers. We have a peaceful election. Yes. And but I can always cool. So if I be mama, be baba, what that body me, but the same way. No professional treatment. Okay.
Abu Kusa, I do it. All matter, on the way, PVC or the body dog. Was it any? Here, there. Was it any? Vote Robo Equity Bejeria. Wa me nwa hu gwara mudia so vote for mudia na sira eka agwe wa hu no de lo we adon egbe nu re ari eja bege o kan wura ko me da ni awon awo me wi biwa re wa lo mi na da bege awon mi gbe awon mi mo Madam, you want to some plan or with our of Reniva, the good down Moniva, the good down Niva, the good down you all dog you Reniva, but under me, and then I said, I'm not just a commercial food. I love full, so that's another don't we care. I love full, it will fully, Adam, you better move. On a winning, or like some block, I know some plan say, okay, I never get it, I know some little boy looking at that. I don't do a limo, or I look for okay, I've here. I look for okay, always the Bible. I know some bloody put down anyway. Not the woman said, well, my law is a business of go to buy, no, I claim my cannot say. I would invite those states, go to uncle, or say, oh, just a food. I will go to the some bloody about that. But Bochi, Iriako, Madi episode 18. But I'm here, Mark 19 Friday, episode 20, I had the election. My Doja election Maki, Doibe, Remawa, Madi Remawa, international, I didn't know. Mawa Mubaru, yes. Therefore, so what the Bama episode 18, any Mamina remark is up. Go and die, any demand doing now, and I will quit it and of you. Somebody put down, I keep with.